As a student, do you see architecture more as art, technology, or problem solving?
In Indian system, I would say the technical knowledge of architecture is super strong in terms of student days. So that's how that process kind of evolved from art to problem solving. I would give you a very nice example, the Mercedes-Benz project by UNS, where double helix ramp that is inspired by the DNA helix structure. So it's the main constraint developed by the narrative by UNS. You wouldn't know when this was built. Is it built yesterday or 20 years ago? Because that constraint became so powerful driver for the project that it developed the aesthetic of the project and created one of the most iconic project of UNS.
10 years from now, what kind of architect do you think will survive and what kind will disappear?
I think to be at the forefront of the profession or career, you have to get on a ride with AI and use as intelligently as you can. Let's not give AI the driving seat. Let's guide AI and learn from it and again guide. So keep that loop ongoing.
Should architect students be threatened by AI or they should adopt AI? So hi Neeraj. Joining us today is Neeraj Mahajan, a young architect and computational designer who is deeply interested in integrating AI into design process. He is currently based between Pune and Amsterdam, which gives his work a strong global perspective. He is a graduate of a Southern California Institute of Architecture, SciArc in Los Angeles, and currently works at UNS in Amsterdam, one of the top architecture studios in the world. Neeraj has worked with leading architectural offices across India, the US, China, and now Netherlands. And his experience spans cultural, institutional, housing, social infrastructure, and mixed use projects. He's passionate about the future of architecture and is constantly exploring new technologies and methods to make design more efficient and creative. We are really excited, Neeraj, to have you at our Qubit podcast. Welcome.
Thank you. My pleasure.
So, Neeraj, we can start with some your early beginnings and some journey about that. So, before architecture become a career, what made you curious about buildings and spaces in the first place?
Well, it did not start with the building or architecture, but I think I owe it to my upbringing and my family, because all my mother, father, and my sister, all of them have a very bright creative side. And while growing up, seeing my mom and dad like creating a space for us to be in at house was always we were in the role of an observer. It was never do this, do that. They will make certain small intentional move and then see how we respond to it. So that's how the interaction with anything started. And every time we have to think about it, like why is this done? What is this done? And that's what starts forming the important questions in your mind. And I believe that's the origin of some creation. So it can be as simple as how you place chairs in your living room, or it starts with that small topic, but I think it has that, it starts to create a system in your mind which you enjoy. So it was never started with a building, but with the small questions that made me think about what I'm doing.
Was there any specific moment when you decided, yes, you want to pursue this as a career?
Well, I think a lot of people know that I was also a professional badminton player before, and also at that junction, when I finished my 12th, I had a big choice to make, to go ahead with the sports or choose a career with a longer timeline. So that was the big decision I had made that time. And that's purely because I enjoy the process of creation. And I also used to go sometimes with my dad to some sites when I was too young, when I had no clue what he's doing and what it is. But I still remember those moments standing on the floor of the slab at some building, looking around the city and feeling something which I don't know. I didn't know that time. But that again made a impact on my mind, and then this process of creation always used to bring me to these direction, because I loved solving puzzles. Then that's also another way of problem solving and creation. So I used to have 1,000 pieces puzzles, 100 pieces puzzles, all at my home. Then my mom used to give me challenge, like if you solve this cube, Rubik's cube, then other puzzles, then you have a special small gift from me. So that's how I earned my first watch. Because and then 6 hours I was completely engrossed in that cube, and then I was like, Mom, where is my watch? So that process of creation and also kind of challenging yourself into new things. So I feel that part slowly brought me to architecture, because this architecture profession has a creation and experience. Like we are sitting here for a podcast, it's designed by some architect, and that's why we love this experience. So you have set up a podcast here. So that's the chain of experience which architecture can bring you through.
Wow, that is very interesting. Did anyone around you encourage or discourage about your choice?
Now, my upbringing and household is super positive, always. Maybe at times too positive as well. But they would never discourage me from doing anything creative. So they would definitely ask me to challenge the decisions I'm making, that why. But they would never say, no, don't do this. Like, always think why you are doing it. If the answer is confident, then there is no next question. So yeah, it's always an encouragement in the, like, maybe I would say they always pushed me, gave me a direction, never a decision. So that's a very critical factor, I feel.
Very nice. I think we'll speak about Hemant in more detail in next few questions. I have a question. As a student, do you see architecture more as art, technology, or problem solving?
Interesting one. Because when I was a student, we had parallel classes of like basic design where it was purely about art and compositions and things, and there used to be building design, building technology studio where it's hardcore technology. So I would say it's definitely both, and art and technology, technology in terms of architecture. And in Indian system, I would say the technical knowledge of architecture is super strong in terms of student days. So that's how that process kind of evolved from art to problem solving. Sometimes it becomes too technical as well in our educational system, but I think we have. I can bring up few more topics later.
Okay. So now this is what your where your choices about when you are about a student. Has that view changed after working professionally?
Well, it's not changed, but it's evolved. And I I think I would mention this evolution in many different perspectives today, because changed like changing the view would be waste of time for me, because then it's always again starting from zero. So I believe in the evolution, and definitely it's evolved a lot after going through so many different geographies and landscape around the world with working with so many amazing, talented people and mentors. So I'm getting wiser, I think, slowly.
Wow. So, what do you think students misunderstand the most today?
I think they don't misunderstand, maybe they are not enough aware of the responsibility architect has. Like, because at that age, everyone is enjoying and work hard, play hard, but I think architect goes way deeper than 9 to 5. It's a lifestyle, and I would never put a timeline on any work of an architect, because he still thinks of a problem that needs to be solved before tomorrow morning and when he's going to bed. So it kind of adopts into a lifestyle, and the choices you make, the people you live around, the way you dress maybe. So it like drips down to the every decision you make in life. And the biggest one I would say is the accountability of a build project, that at the student days there is not much awareness because they are still learning the base techniques of an design process. So like for example, now we are sitting in this room, it has a super positive energy and it has a nice vibe around it, we feel good. That's not just the space, that's not by fluke, it's a design of an architect, and then he has put a lot of effort to make that positive. The material choices, the light entering the building, the way it's oriented, the way form kind of makes you feel in certain buildings. So this responsibility, I think, is not that, let's say, the awareness is not at that great level at a student age, but it starts to evolve, I feel.
Wow. Now, I have a very interesting question next, Neeraj. If today's Neeraj could talk to first year Neeraj, what learnings about architecture would you tell him?
Well, first I would say hi to first year Neeraj again. And so mainly it's about the beliefs that are changed, right? So I think the first belief I would say doesn't work is clarity is not certainty. So like we always go through a certain design process, and for example it's a villa or a bungalow design, and if you figured out circulation day one and it's solved, that doesn't mean it's certain and it's final.
Okay.
So in the student days, that's the success. Like, oh, done. Like my design is done and I'm now just going to produce. But whether on the other hand, in real life, it goes through so many different factors, external factors, politics, people, culture, social factors, that you have to literally fight for every design and adapt according to the factors, but still maintain the intent of the design. So that belief doesn't work in reality because it just keeps on changing. And but your skill becomes not to solve the first day problem, but to maintain the intent throughout the process.
Okay.
So the idea that you have imagined on day one, you need to make sure when it's built, it's as close as you had imagined on the day one.
Okay. Okay. Very nice. Very nice. So early on, what do you think good design meant that you now believe has been updated?
So I think again, design is an super evolutionary process. So in my school days or early days, I would say if the design was a puzzle of 100 pieces, now I know it's a puzzle of 1,000 pieces. So
Yes.
it's basically it's a subjective matter. Design cannot be good or bad. It can be analyzed with parameters.
Okay.
So this process of evolution, I think, is very important, and I think most important part is need to keep growing and keep updating yourself with the time. So then a lot of more topics come up. Like in my undergrad, there was no AI, there was no strong BIM at that time. But now, with time, I had to grow and adapt to that technology and then move ahead. So the design just adds more parameters and grows in quality.
Okay, so I have one follow-up question uh, after you answer. Can you elaborate more about BIM, because that's something you strongly believe?
Yeah, definitely.
What are the advantages?
Well, it basically gives you real-time update from the drawings and three-dimensional output. You can visualize it in a faster way. Even so, basically, it's a building information modeling. So Revit is the most used platform at the moment, and it really reduces the labor work. That every time you have to update 100 plans in a CAD, then again transfer to any 3D software, Rhino, SketchUp, or any other tool, then build again everything. If you make a change in CAD again, you have to again update 3D. But with the intelligent systems of BIM, you get the real-time updates and also can create a drawing set out of it. And there are a lot of new plugins developing which can connect it with Rhino, then Grasshopper. It is made easier to transfer the information through these platforms. So that's definitely the way to go ahead.
So another question is, because architects always believe design starts from a paper. On a paper, it starts. So which are the softwares which every architect should learn, instead of just relying on their team members? They should learn, because I know you adopt many softwares. You know, you have been learning all the new softwares. So which are the softwares every architect should practice and should use that thoroughly? Which are the softwares?
I think, like for example, the upcoming students and architects definitely be very equipped with software skills, because you need to have a speed and understanding of the tools, and you cannot say I cannot do it because I don't know the software. That is not an option anymore. So I basically started using SketchUp in my undergrad, but then even my undergrad thesis 10 years ago was in Rhino and Grasshopper, but nobody even touched that software in my college at that time. So I have always been a bit geeky about softwares, and I enjoy the latest updates in the architecture industry. So I make sure that I am updated with the latest possible software. So Rhino, Grasshopper, I love Maya, because that brings in the most intuitional modeling I enjoy. And I have also designed multiple projects when I was at Mad Architects through Maya. And there are also now a couple of projects I was part of. They are also already built now. Then, of course, Revit with the BIM technology. And Rhino Grasshopper is the super powerful design tool, I would say, because of the nature of its node-based design, parametric possibilities, and modeling. So SketchUp I haven't used after my undergrad till today.
Okay, so I have a very bold question now, because we are talking about all the softwares which international architect. I will call you as an international architect because you have been working, you have practiced in India, then the US, then China, now the Netherlands. So, which are the softwares which are taught by colleges today in India, and in while you are doing in postgrad in US, or are the colleges relying on your skill only? They don't teach you, or can you just elaborate on these two
Yeah,
things?
that's a very important question, because I am not fully updated with the current status of softwares in undergrad or colleges in India. But I can say when I was in undergrad, till third year, there was no push for the software. Everything was done by hand on paper and drafting. But I started using SketchUp even in my second year. And I also had funny incidences where they asked me for physical model and I brought the whole renders. But it was not allowed for me because they're like, we want physical model. Even if you're good at software, we don't want it.
Okay.
So I think that part was a bit tricky at times because I also tend to follow my intuition and
Okay.
sometimes it doesn't follow the system. So that's also a funny part. But definitely push for softwares here will be very helpful for students for international opportunities. And then when I moved to US, so they don't really teach you software by full course or anything, but they will give you a seed to start something. And then uh, in US, the educational system is never like bound by any rules. You have a complete freedom that can be again good and bad the way you want to utilize it. Like I learned all Maya in my masters because I loved that software and nobody came to like teach me. But I had that motivation of pushing myself, but there were people around who could help.
Okay.
So that global exposure definitely helps in academics. Like the people who are around at that time, like SciArc was founded by Thommen and few of his more colleagues. So he's a Pritzker-Winne architect. So we had the presence of all global leaders around at us at SciArc. So that definitely helps and pushes you in a very strong positive direction. But again, it's a very independent decision to learn something, and nobody even there forces you to learn something. It's all up to you, but the means are available.
Okay. Okay.
I think here at the current times, if those are also available, I would be very happy, but I'm not very updated with the latest moment.
Okay, so another question is like more personal, because I know your dad Hemant very well for last 20-25 years, and he loves traditional architecture like anything. And you had been using all latest tech. So, was there any opposition by your dad? Don't use softwares and all those things. Rather, I think he has suggested to use all the best of the best softwares. So, what you will suggest to the old age architects, for example, if they are practicing?
No, I think, for example, he is one of the most hardcore architects at heart.
Yes.
And his passion for this field is very unparalleled. Very few architects can, uh, I have seen, have that kind of passion and honesty
Yes.
towards that profession. Like he always tells me, architecture is a service to community. You have to serve the poor, you have to serve the rich, you cannot choose. It's for everyone. And for that, like I think more than 30 years now, in his practice, he is always updated the softwares in the office with the staff. But of course, after I joined, I could, in the COVID times, we worked together and I gave a bit also more push and in terms of softwares and design process. So he really liked that and appreciated always. And he's a very open-minded person in terms of new ideas.
Okay.
So there is never like a clash that you cannot use this. When as long as he sees that helps the process, it's always open. And now he's even aware of some of the AI tools. They're also trying few things in the office.
Wow.
So he's quite updated with all the softwares, and he always encourages and opens like he's always open for new conversation about upcoming technology. So I think I really enjoy that discussing with him.
Wow. Now, what is one truth about architecture that no one tells young designers early enough?
The one truth.
Okay.
Yeah. That's, I think I will say 2.
Okay, great. You can go ahead.
Because uh, the thing is, the one truth is it cannot be taught, it has to be experienced. The satisfaction of designing something and going to visit that when it's built, that feeling I enjoyed a lot, and I was in kind of a meditation zone in the project because it's just the experience and it goes beyond words can express. So basically, when you design some project and it's built, it's the building is basically functioning and starts to breathe, people occupy it, it becomes habitable. Then the way it stands in the city, the way people interact with it, maybe sometimes abuse it, deal with it, and so it building goes to the somehow backdrop sometimes, and it becomes part of the bigger system or habitat, and that kind of a subtle beauty of creation and experience has to be like lived, not taught. So but that's the biggest truth I enjoy about architecture. And on the other hand, I would also say the combination of pay scale and responsibility, that if you compare now, like I have lived so many different places around the world, but this pay responsibility relationship is still the same. You grow in your career, but the pay scale does not grow as if you compare it with other professions like IT fields, data, or any other fields. So I don't know why. Maybe after listening to the podcast, someone can reply to us why this is the situation in the world. So I would definitely encourage to also update that and in whatever means possible, and it will be helpful for all the architects fraternity, and I think they can spend more quality time on architect designing something more powerful, I feel.
I think this is very important because you had been practicing across globe, and your inputs are important. Many architects might think this is happening only in India or in this
Right.
part of the region, and globally there is some different scenario. So your points are very important and valid. Should schools teach this, or should studios?
Well, I think it's not like it's out of scope for the schools or studios. It is a scope of global architectural organization like Indian Institute of Architects in India, or whatever is the global forum of architects that can control the organizational structure and the fee structure and the pay scale. So I think it's a global decision. For India, maybe it's a central decision, not part of any independent institute or a studio.
Okay. Now you have studied and worked in India, the US, China, and now Europe. Be honest. You can be really honest. Which system actually makes better architects, and which one just keeps them busy?
Well, everyone is busy, so that's not the difference. But I think also better is quite a relative term, and what I can say is I have experienced all these four places in different phases of my career,
Okay.
like in terms of student age, master's age, then job in China, and now job plus some management role starting to come up in Amsterdam.
Okay.
So I value all four these locations, and they have given me a lot of new experiences and learnings. And I think I can shed a light on each, some qualities I liked from each system, I think. Because in India, as I said before, the technical knowledge about the architecture is very strong. I also felt super confident after final year that I can definitely get built things. That's the very, that's like a very big level confidence I had, and I after my undergrad. and also the problem solving is quite powerful in India, because we always have very unseen conditions and very unnatural situations that no one has seen most of the times, and then you have to figure out a solution in the restricted timeline and come up with the best output. So that skill in India is quite powerful. If I go to US, I really enjoyed the speculative part of architecture as my master's, and that was actually one of the reasons I went to SciArc, for unlearning my bachelor's experience.
Unlearning, very interesting. Can you elaborate on that?
Yes, definitely, because as I told you, I had a very strong skeleton of architecture in my bachelor's, but I always loved seeing projects around the globe by UN Studio at that time, then Zaha, then Herzog de Meuron, and these guys. And they were extremely tools-oriented projects and like higher vision-oriented projects, to be honest. And I always enjoyed that feeling, how they made me feel.
Okay.
And then I was like, why, like how they are doing it? And I can draw the plans and sections of those buildings, but I don't know how they are starting that project.
Okay.
Like, what's the seed of that project coming from? Like, where is it coming from? And then I researched about the masters, where I can go, what I can do. And then SciArc was one of the most challenging school of thoughts. Like, they will always challenge the hardcore principles of architecture.
Okay.
And that's where I had the most difficult and amazing time of unlearning my technical skills. That doesn't mean I lost my technical skills, but I would say it fused it with the more creative power.
Okay.
So I got like a double engine now
Okay.
instead of only one side of it, because that unlearning helped me to broaden my perspective of architecture, about architecture.
Okay.
Like, there will be always multidisciplinary ideas like explored in SciArc, the philosophy discussions and ideas. Then, for example, we had one studio called Ghostly.
Okay.
So it was, the instructor was Dwayne Euler. He's one of my favorite practitioners in the world, and I was in his studio. And then the idea was to develop a sculpture museum, but based on the qualities of ghostly architecture.
Ghostly
Yes.
architecture. Okay.
So what is ghostly? First R&D on that. Then it has the transient qualities, maybe the blurry nature of that word, then how it translates into a form, and how it can be translated into a sculpture museum. So this whole process of development and design thinking is amazing, and that part I want to fuse with the strong technical knowledge
Oh.
to bring about something that has never seen before.
Okay.
That's where my unlearning came into play, and then I like picked up this new like missing link for myself,
Okay.
and I now try to enjoy that process. And with all these multiple studios I worked around the globe, this process really brings in new designs.
Ah, so I think that's a very important point where you are saying, because from India it was some unlearning which you then you went to US. From there some unlearning to China, some unlearning to Netherlands.
Yeah.
So it's a continuous process.
Yeah, you have to learn to unlearn, and I think that's the powerful gesture, and that keeps your mind open to new ideas.
Hmm.
You never satisfy your mind fully, like you're always curious for new things.
So now you know the practices across globe. If you had to train a young architect today, where would you send them first and why?
I think it's a very personal decision, but for me, I would bring in the combination of speculative architecture and technical knowledge,
Okay.
because that can bring in some new design, but it can be built. So that brings best of both worlds. It's a even harder challenge for architect himself or herself, but worth the fight.
Okay. Uh, so in Europe, China, the US, does design often starts with an idea? Do you think in India it usually starts with some limits? Which approach makes stronger architects in the long run?
Well, I think anywhere in the world, the design starts with a constraint, not an idea, because the first step of any beginning of a project, the client comes to me and gives me a plot. That's the first biggest constraint we have.
Yeah.
So it's not like any starting point is different anywhere in the world, but I would say the way you respond to the constraint varies a lot around the world, and that can highly govern the output of the project.
Okay. So, do these limits sharpen creativity or slowly kill ambition?
I think the creativity which respects the constraints, like let's say, I think I will say again.
Yeah,
Could
yeah,
you
but
repeat the question?
so we are talking about the limits. When the question is in Europe, China, design often starts with an idea. Do you think in India it starts with some limits? And do these limits sharpen creativity or slowly kill ambition? Because you have some limits like there is a plot, you can build only this, the height can be only this limit. Then there are not only constraints about plots, it's also from the developer, the markets and all those things. So do this limit constraints are better for creativity, or how you take this?
Well, I think again, it is very important the way architect responds to a constraint. And I would say there are two types of constraints. One is a physical constraint, and one which architect can develop in the design process is a design constraint. So any new design needs a direction, right?
Yeah.
So the first plot, like the plot line is a main constraint, but then when the design begins, you need sub constraints to guide a process. So I would give you a very nice example, the Mercedes-Benz project by UNS, where the wayfinding and the people circulation became the driver for the whole museum project. So it's a like double helix ramp that is inspired by the DNA helix structure, and that kind of becomes the whole central circulation zone of the museum and the in between courtyard that guides the whole project. So it's the main constraint developed by the narrative by UNS, and it acts as a timeless design decision, because even if you visit any time a project in Stuttgart, the Benz, you wouldn't know when this was built. Is it built yesterday or 20 years ago?
Okay, time-based
Because
design.
that constraint became so powerful driver for the project that it developed the aesthetic of the project. It already solved the circulation of a project and created one of the most iconic project of UNS.
Okay.
And on the other hand, let's say a physical constraint example. I really like the Elbe Philharmonie in Hamburg by Herzog de Meuron, where they had a very historic grade structure at like that's still 10 floors high around, and then they had to create a cultural, let's say cultural center. It's a performance center, and above that, and they cannot apparently demolish the structure. So that's a big physical constraint, right?
Yeah.
And the way they have come through that project is one of my favorite projects in the world. And why I'm saying this is because these are the two main examples, which are the one of the most famous projects in the world, are developed through constraints.
Constraint.
One is a physical constraint, one is a design narrative constraint developed for the process.
Oh,
So constraint is an amazing thing. Just when you insert it is very important. If the constraint is inserted too early and by external factors, then maybe design will not reach the potential. But if it's inserted at the right time, definitely, and it's responded in a right way, I think it can bring the best of the projects. The best, another amazing example is all our temple complexes.
oh, yeah.
The Sabha Mandapa to Garbhagruha, these are all constraints, right?
Ah, yeah.
And the circumambulatory path around, these are all very strong systematic constraints, and they can be replicated in different complexes and still with different designs. So that's our history and heritage.
And they're timeless.
Exactly.
They're timeless.
So constraint is
Constraint is how you
most
take those
critical
constraints and how you design
part of design.
around it is, I think, the most important. Have you personally done better under freedom or pressure?
I think either of them having it in a full quantity is not helping anyone, because fully having a full freedom, I feel it makes project interesting, but most of the times it remains unsolved because there is no end.
Okay.
And being creative people, we want to change it every day, and there is no constraint to stop it. So either it has to be a constraint of time or function or deadline, or some constraints need to be developed, or like a design guiding constraints should be there. So I think the right, let's say it's a sequence. So first, any project starts with a freedom, and then the constraints are put in to sculpt it over time. So I would say constraint is kind of molding the sculpture,
Okay. So,
and uh, that brings the best product, because inserting it at right time gives the good move on the project.
I think this is very nicely explained. So working at a global studio like UNS, what surprised you the most about how decisions are made there?
Yeah, that's a interesting one, because I think I really appreciate the one quality in UNS is they never rush their decisions. It's it's never uncooked decision. Maybe after decision is made, everyone has to be responsible for the consequences, but the decision is never uncooked because of rush or time, lack of time. They really purposely advocate that factor, that I also struggle sometimes. Being from Indian background, we are used to really sometimes push the timelines, decisions, no matter if they are at what stage. So I really respect that fact, that they ask clients to know we still need another week because it's still in process, and we want to give you the best product. So I know it's getting delayed, but that's how we work.
Oh, wow. Very nice. So, what is that one thing international studios do that Indian offices urgently need to adopt? And one thing India does better than the West won't admit?
Well, after going for my masters to SIARC, I really started enjoying the speculative part of architecture and research and development and hands-on work, fabricating your own complex designs and feeling them. And this process, I would say it's not like no one does that in India, but it's very few studios have already adopted to it. And the main parts are research-led design. So that part I would really encourage all architects in India to go for. Of course, there are some amazing studios in India who already do that. And prototyping. Then treat the R&D process as learning, not a failure, or do not judge it.
Okay.
On one side, you have to keep doing experiments and create new seeds. You never know when they will come in use for the next any future projects. So keep it cooked
Hmm.
and learn from the mistakes, experiments, and that part I really enjoy
Okay.
in these other studios.
Okay. And my another question is, and one thing India does better than the West won't admit.
Well, I think I am always advocating for Indian heritage and architecture and craftsmanship all over the world, no matter who comes for a discussion. No one can beat this from my perspective, and it has the best balance of science and technology in all our historic structures. And from those principles, there are a lot of local architecture and vernacular architecture solutions which are developed in India, but somehow they are not that widely broadcasted in the limelight. Maybe they don't care because they have their own happy space and those designs are amazing. So I enjoy the local responsive solutions in India, and like that's the part we do really good. And I think if we bind that with the R&D from the around the globe, I think we can create a whole new system that is fit for India and not only glass block buildings. And that's not the definition of elegance.
Okay.
What is architecture, elegance in architecture and high-end architecture? It's not only the way it looks. What if it's a fully glass box? It looks super amazing to someone, but inside you cannot even sit for 2 hours for a meeting. And then you turn on the AC, then you increase the load of the building, then you destroy the nature and the carbon footprint of the building. Then you all this for what? Just to show a glass box.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's the pure definition of high end. I think we have amazing time zones and climate zones in India, and they need to be respected when we develop any high end project,
Okay. So very, very interesting.
because that's what will make Indian projects contextual. Like it can still definitely look more elegant because it has more realistic constraints.
Okay.
When you build a glass box, you are trapping all the constraints.
Hmm.
You are not respecting them.
Right, right, right. So, do you think in India, when we are building these glass buildings, are they right or are they just copying?
Again, the design is fully subjective, so I'm no one to say it's right or wrong, but I can say I definitely can think of better solutions in terms of climate response, in terms of context, in terms of bigger vision as a city. I think these parts we can definitely bring in more and not think of a very isolated plot and this is my design.
Okay.
It should, whenever you have a footprint in the city, that will resonate with surrounding. Like, for example, when the Burj Khalifa was built in Dubai, there was the whole 5 kilometer radius was developed because of one building, right? The whole area became a commercial like boom.
Yeah.
So that's the power of a single building. So then like architecture has that power to create a city around one building.
So architects has a huge responsibility,
Yes.
huge responsibility. Even when we talk about skyline of any city, those are not built by the government. Those are actually built by architects, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
You go to any big cities and you look at those skylines. Those are all structures, architects who have designed those buildings and collaboratively you can see the entire skyline. So what do you think about the skylines in India and the skylines across globe? You're talking about Dubai, China, Europe, US.
Yeah, I think, of course, government does not design the skyline, but indirectly they do,
Okay.
because the urban guidelines allow where building can go high, where building can go above 100 meters, like in Pune now. They will choose the area or the, like, if there's certain distance from metro corridor, we have 4 FSI, then only those areas will react to that constraint. So indirectly, government has that power of defining which area in the city can go high,
Oh, yeah.
right? And then that area can become a financial district. This area needs to stay low because it's a quiet residential zone. So I would say urban design guidelines and town planning plays way bigger role even before the project starts,
Yeah.
to make sure where it will happen. And that's what I have experienced. Lot of these cities like Beijing. I was in Beijing, so I mean it's mind blowing to see the way they plan and execute things and make it complete. So make a decision, like, and make sure it completes. So that's the sequence needs to be more critically analyzed, I feel. Same in US, they always have a business district in every major city.
Okay.
So not that you can build anywhere, go 300 meter, 500 meter, anywhere. They have a very strong urban design guidelines that will shape the city.
Yeah.
So I think that's a very powerful
Wow.
role of a government in it.
Okay. So now, when global architectural studios are planning to come to India, because it's like next big things happening in India now. So where are they struggling when they are working in India?
Well, first good thing is all global studios want to come here now,
Oh, that's great.
because of the, like,
The development.
real boom in development in India. So that's I would say really positive point for India. But again, on the other hand, it's a big responsibility,
Yeah.
because if you are bringing in more talent, more competition, that needs to be again sorted in the city level guidelines to make cities better. And if you ask about what's the most difficult part for global studios, as I have seen till now, is the understanding of bylaws in the local context, then the politics, local politics. I don't think anyone can understand. Also, the social and cultural constraints, which are very intangible factors like here, of maybe everywhere in the world. Of course, if you go to different country, there are a lot of factors you cannot never understand. So, and the fee structure is very difficult for architecture studios to bring them here from outside India.
Okay.
But I think now with these new bylaws, UDCPR and new FSI and loading and everything, it's becoming more viable to afford a foreign architect for sure. And I think it's taking next steps now.
So, do you think this will be like a challenge for local architects? What they need to adopt now, because they have next to them they have a competitor who is a global architect firm. So, what will you suggest a local architects?
I think foreign body or a foreign company, it's very difficult to sustain on their own, and it's a age of collaboration.
Okay.
So collective intelligence has more value now than any independent entity. So having a collaboration between a foreign architect and a local architect is a very, uh, let's say, ideal solution at this moment. And I can see a lot of collaborations happening. Even UNS is really trying to uh, bring the footprint in India, and it's already happening.
Okay.
So it's about collaboration and shared responsibilities.
Okay.
So the parts which they cannot have the full understanding. The architect from India will control that and tackle that, and where the that architect can bring in the bigger vision, make even bigger impact of a project, they can bring in. So whatever works best of both worlds can come together and have an amazing project.
Collaboration, I think that's the
Yes.
key word. Now, something different. You have spoken about falling in love with an idea and a relentless fight for its realization.
Yes.
What experiences made you believe in this so strongly?
So I came across this quote first time in my undergrad internship at Mindspace architect Sanjay Mohe, who I respect a lot, and I spent the best of my architecture days. Let's say, what is that word called? Like thinking. Yeah, but it's like brainstorming with yourself. I don't know. So introspection.
Introspection.
And so, I mean, basically I came across this quote somewhere in the office in Mindspace Architects with architect Sanjay Mohe, and I really could relate all this in his work.
Okay.
Somehow indirectly, and the way he used to explain the projects, we used to have the talks, and how he respects an idea. So that I saw that purity in that quote, and I really started enjoying that quote, and I used to have it written on my books, almost every book I have, and it somehow stayed at back of the mind since that day. And I have seen so many experiences of good ideas failed because they were not cared about, and they were not curated and processed through time and made it a success. So I feel idea is, of course, is just a beginning, but having that idea into a realization is a work of a decade for architects. So that is a very relentless fight through all external factors, internal factors, and it's a journey. And I believe that's the biggest rewarding thing when you complete that for each project. So
Wow.
no matter it's a project or a technology or a system, it's a relentless effort to make it happen.
So, can you share one idea that was truly worth the fight?
Well, I can give you one really nice example from UNS, where last couple of years ago we worked on a project in South Korea, Hannam-dong 4. It's a residential high-end development, and it was a so I was designing the main key high-end towers along the Han River, and it was again a development through a narrative. So the concept I came up with was water lilies standing around the banks of Han River, and we did like 4 options in first couple of weeks, and client really wanted to push for more dynamic solutions. I was super happy. I was like, this is the very few times client pushes me for more complex design.
Okay.
So I was really happy with that, the fact that I can explore more complex designs and use more of my technical knowledge and software skills to come up with a newer concept. And then that concept, client really liked it, but I was not fully satisfied with it. So here I could have easily given up and said, oh, client has accepted, so it's done. But somehow I went back to my desk and I thought, no, this still has to be optimized more. And this is not it. Like something is missing. So this is just a conversation of me with my thoughts, and no one pushed me to make that new option. And I somehow was like, this has to be done. Something is missing. And then I came up with another new option, and everyone loved it, client loved it, and there was no space of doubt left. But so this intuitional push is very important, and I think that is just a self motivation. And of course, I had amazing team with me, but this push kind of again proves me that quote, the relentless fight for its realization.
Oh, what a nice story. Now I have few questions about AI, but before entering into those AI questions, I have a question about Vastu, because we are in India where Vastu is very important. Now you have been working across globes. So, what is your take about Vastu? Is Vastu applicable in other part of the world also? How they tackle? So, your take on that?
You are putting me in a difficult spot.
You can go ahead.
No, I think the way I interpret Vastu is the principles or parameters developed from our climate response, like climate around Indian subcontinent. So, of course, they do have emotional stories behind it, but I believe that more of a scientific way of why not doing it, why south has to be blocked. For me, it's because the south has most harsh sun rays, and that's why the core can take that all heat, and the houses will not suffer. So that's the one example. But I have seen some of these examples of Vastu, like in China, in Vietnam, they have their own word for it, but they also do consider these things
Okay.
while building a project. But again, it depends on case to case and client to client, so it cannot be generalized. But it does exist in Asia, a lot of places. From my experience, I haven't seen much in Europe or US, but maybe there are some deeper constraints they have developed through culture, or it's
Okay.
quite possible.
So Vastu is also a constraint. You have to
Yes,
build around.
but I think the constraint which is accepted without questioning, I don't believe in.
Okay.
I like to have a constraint if it works, makes sense, scientifically proven, and gives better for a client. I will not doubt that. I will
Nice.
use it. But constraint without questioning is a force. It's a forced design, not a sensible design for me.
That is a nice take about Vastu. So Neeraj, which approach prepares architects better for real life?
I feel architects who can generate ambition under freedom, but can defend it under pressure. And if they can move fluently between speculation and execution, that's the real ideal combination which can bring the best project.
Nice. Very interesting. Um, Now let's dive into some AI related questions, Neeraj. So, will AI help create better architecture, or will it just produce lots of beautiful but meaningless work?
Nice. I think basically AI in architecture is utilizing computational intelligence for architects to decide, test, and visualize new ideas. And I feel both things will happen for sure based on the way the system is formed, because in last few years what I've realized is asking the right questions, setting up the right constraints can give you the best output maybe in 3 images. But if you just keep generating for fun, it can create millions of nonsense images which are just for fun. I mean, that's also okay. But if it comes to a project, I feel I a bit worry about a wastage of energy and generated outputs and the storage of it. than actual quality product and output for a project. So, in another perspective, its design is kind of shifting into systems and performance based design, the design process. Because instead of sketching it and bringing it into a model, it's kind of allied by more intelligent partner which can form a system and performance based design. So it can definitely evolve into a new type of originality, and I definitely look forward to this new potential of AI.
So I have my follow-up question. So does the outcome from the AI depend more on the tool or the architect?
Well, it at the most part of it definitely depends on the architect and who creates the system and the base. Well, and sometimes it still creates a totally unrelated output. Huh? It's not like it's very intentional input. Still, sometimes you really get weird output. I have no clue about how that happens, but it happens now. I hope in future when the AI is more evolved, the rate of intention will increase a lot more, and it's already happening. If you imagine last 3 years evolution of AI, it's insane the way every couple of months there is new product, new technology and new workflow in the world of architecture. So but definitely a tool does not have its own let's say a power of generation. It's given by a system. The tool, it just reveals it.
Okay.
So architect will be still in charge of what will be generated to the most. Yeah.
Okay. So are we already seeing signs of this happening?
Yes, I think all global practices, what I have seen, already started investing heavily in AI and in terms of architectural offices. And because definitely they are benefiting from it, right? Like once you see a benefit from certain thing, you will invest into it. And all the global studios have their own AI workflows development. They have separate team of digital innovations, and then somehow I feel the role of architect is also, there is a new opening coming up, which kind of on the edge of architecture and technology. That's really closing the gap between these two. Like when architect has strong technical knowledge and has a sense of uh, technology and who can do programming well, he can jump on the either side of the platform now.
Oh,
So
yes.
it's our role of an architect is definitely expanding, and I think it's super exciting to see this new role coming up
Yeah.
and making systems more intelligent.
Yeah. So, Neeraj, I also strongly feel means because AI is like growing at a pace where people are thinking कि lots of careers are going to get changed. But I strongly believe you cannot run away from an architect globally. You will require architect wherever you go because there are local constraints. You have to build that building with all corporate. So AI will only help you to build better buildings. You cannot run away from that.
Yeah,
What is your
definitely
opinion
not.
on that?
Now, I think AI is another partner to enhance your work and maybe provide you more optimized solutions and reduce the time, increase the quality of a product. So it can optimize and enhance the workflows, but till now it's not at all the case that the role of architect will be replaced. It can be definitely updated that architect can, instead of sketching by himself or herself, architect can develop a system of or train his own models based on his own sketches to generate new ideas. So I think here another interesting topic comes about authorship. Every architect is so passionate about his or creation, like it started with this sketch or that sketch, but maybe now AI will bring in, like it will flood the space with hundreds of new sketches. So that is a very interesting discussion. I would just put it on the platform that the new theory and role of authorship of an architect, or is he a system designer, or is he a, I don't know, pure designer to system designer. I think it's even difficult role to guide a bigger system than one project. So I really want to see how it evolves into a new discussion on the forum.
Very interesting. So, what is one architectural task that you would happily give to AI tomorrow without any guilt?
I think so. In the beginning of every project, there are a lot of technical terms and conditions to be analyzed based on the plot, site, climate. So these things can be definitely automated in coming days, and you can definitely spend more quality time on intent and designing these systems for each typology maybe. And I think two ways. Right now, I can see the major two ways the AI is used in architecture. One is for part of a narrative process, design thinking and visualization. And the one another silent part that is slowly coming up is a performance-based design. So it's going towards simulations, more intelligent systems, and having that. Like I'm really curious to explore the other part as well, which kind of becomes real-time updates and intelligent system than only like one image of it.
Okay.
So I think, but the task I can give to AI are all labor-intensive tasks, which will keep me more quality time.
Okay. So, about quality time, I have another question for you. By using AI, the additional time that the architects will have, how they can focus on the other things?
I think to develop a more valuable intent and a structure like upcoming systems, these are the very critical aspects now to be dealt with for every architect. And even bigger fact is to make a decision. Because if AI is giving you 100 solutions a day, how do you know that which one is the best? Before, if you sketch 4, you can analyze and make one final. Now, if you have 100 on your desk, decision making becomes the most critical part of it. And then, is there a system to create such powerful parameters that will not leave any loophole and give you the best output? I don't know. But decision making now becomes the most difficult part.
Yeah.
Because of too much creation.
So that's really interesting. So, what part of architecture will always need human touch?
I think AI is basically a system devised by humans, so it doesn't have any emotional attachment or moral ethical representation. So these all intangible factors in any society or culture, they have to be dealt by humans always, because AI can tell you what can be built, but humans will decide if this should be built.
Okay.
So you will get all possible solutions on a certain project, but like if there is any cultural disruption, like community disruption, any issue in the city, any political thing, the AI cannot guess that or judge that. So you will know the potential, but whether to do it or not, will be decided by humans always. So that's a very soft, let's say, a soft part of life that is still not part of AI, and I think it's good to have this control with humans always.
So should architect students be threatened by AI or should adopt AI?
Yeah, I think that's very tricky because if I imagine having AI when I was in my undergrad, I don't know what I would do or how I would grow, because I think they should not ignore the technical knowledge and the expertise of a real architect just by illusion of creating beautiful images. It should happen the other way around, which I feel then it's helpful, because then you become more intention driven and you can crack the design in few images than just doing a slot machine. So as a student, if you don't know what is right, you just, oh, this looks good, that looks good, and you have all beautiful images. So there is no motive of why not choose other one. So for that decision making, you need to have very strong technical background and contextual understanding. So that part always should come first, even for students. And this always treated as an enhancer of your design, not a origin. Like, ideas should always start from your brain, and then you keep enhancing. Maybe you get a better parallel idea, and then you again integrate it with your original idea, and again run through it, come up with the best possible output. So it's a to and fro process, but you should be in the leading position, not the other way. Not be like driven around by AI's output.
Okay. So now, very good thought about AI. So you are, so how, can you tell us about UNS, how they are using AI currently?
Well, I think UNS always loves to be on the edge of technology and how it can support architecture and design process. So like, I really enjoy that part of conversations and events in the office always. And there is a great team, especially dedicated for digital innovations, and they are developing all the tools and latest technologies that can support the design workflows we have. So day by day, it's really growing fast, and we can already see the usage of AI from every employee around, every colleague around the world is growing by crazy numbers this year, especially.
Okay.
And I'm sure in future it's going to be even more. So they are also really putting big effort into developing the smart systems for the office.
Wow. So now, 10 years from now, what kind of architect do you think will survive and what kind will disappear?
Well, I can talk about who can survive, because I think to be at the forefront of the profession or career, you have to get on a ride with AI and use as intelligently as you can without overpowering any design. Like, without overpowering, like, let's not give AI the driving seat. Let's guide AI and learn from it and again guide. So keep that loop ongoing. And I think in coming years, I am really excited about the part of simulations that could be done. For example, what we experienced with Vision Pro in GBB. So that's a live simulation of what could be the interior of a project, what you have developed. So that's another immersive experience coming up in future. And I would say, for even going further next step, if you can modify that when you are experiencing the design right there, and then it's reflected back in the drawing. So that completes the loop and really enhance the process. Imagine if the reviews of students in schools are done with the device and they experience their own designs in the school days before getting it built. That could be really a turning point for, and then that's the best possible case of using AI and technology.
Technology. Yeah, amazing. Okay, Neeraj, all the best for this new venture. So thank you, Neeraj. Thank you for all giving your time here, and we look forward for more big associations.
Definitely, it's my pleasure for that you invited me for the podcast, and I hope we do many more soon.
Yes, all my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.